Okay, thank you, councillors. I have recommendation that the standing orders of this ordinary council meeting be resumed. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Moved, Councillor Simpson. Seconded, Councillor Hood. All those in favour? Councillor Hood, Councillor Halliday, Councillor Simpson, Councillor Henderson, Councillor Bray, Councillor Dryeley, and myself, Councillor Hewitt. We have a motion on the table, moved by Councillor Bray or seconded by Councillor Henderson, that the that council makes a determination not to issue a notice of decision to issue a planning permit at 9 Roses Lane, Clunes. Councillor Halliday?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I'd like to move an amendment to Councillor Bray's motion.
Yes, and that would be?
I will read it out in just a moment. That council makes a determination to refuse the planning permit at 90 Roses Lane, Clunes, due to a lack of strategic planning, concerns for overdevelopment, and inconsistencies with the current neighbourhood character.
Thank you, Councillor Halliday. Councillor Bray, do you accept that amendment to your motion?
Madam Mayor, yes, I accept that amendment.
So do I have a seconder to the amendment?
Madam Mayor, sorry, you need to call for a seconder to the amendment of the motion.
Can I have a seconder for the amendment of the motion? Councillor Hood. So Councillor Henderson has moved, Councillor Halliday has moved the motion. Councillor Hood has seconded it. Councillor Bray has accepted the amendment. All those in favour of putting the amendment to the vote. All those in favour of putting the amendment to the vote. This is not voting on the amendment, it's putting the amendment to the vote.
No, sorry,
We're not there yet.
Point of order, Madam Mayor. I think that once Councillor Bray accepts the motion, it becomes the motion.
Thank you, Councillor Henderson. That's not the advice I've got from Ms. Fort.
Well,
is that correct, Ms. Fort?
there's no amendment. Okay. Oh well. I don't think once Councillor Bray accepts that amendment, it becomes part of the motion, and then you get on with the debate. Is my view. Anyway.
Ms. Fort, I'll take your advice on that.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. My advice and interpretation is that Councillor Bray has accepted the amendment, and you called for a seconder for that particular. Sorry, Councillor Halliday proposed an amendment, which was seconded by Councillor Hood, and Councillor Bray has confirmed that she accepts that amendment. If Councillor Bray has accepted that amendment, the amendment is put to vote. So then the amendment needs to be put to vote, and if carried, the amendment becomes the motion before council.
Right. All right. So is that all those in favour of that? Okay. So that's Councillor Halliday, Councillor Hood, Councillor Bray, Councillor Dryeley, and Councillor Simpson. Those against?
Yeah, I guess that. I don't think it's right.
Myself and Councillor Henderson. So now that amendment is now put to the vote. So if we have that up again.
I believe I have the right of reply. Do we have the right to discussion on?
Yes, you do. You will, but let's put it up again so that we can see that. So council makes a determination to refuse to a planning permit at 90 Roses Lane, Clunes, due to a lack of strategic planning, concerns for overdevelopment and inconsistent use of current neighbourhood character. Councillor Bray, you're now the mover of that motion, and you retain the right of reply. That's correct. Councillor Henderson, you've got your hand up.
Just a point of order, Madam Mayor. That becomes, if Councillor Bray now speaks, she's speaking on a motion. That's become the motion, and
Yes.
so if you put it straight away,
I'm not putting it straight away. I'm looking for a seconder to it. Is anyone seconding that?
What am I seconding?
Well, you're not anything at the moment unless you tell me that you are.
What motion do we have on the floor, Madam Mayor?
Mr. Thomas? Thank you. That council makes a determination to refuse a planning permit at 90 Roses Lane, Clunes, due to lack of strategic planning, concerns for overdevelopment and inconsistent use of current neighbourhood character. Councillor Bray has moved it. I'm looking for a seconder.
Well, I'll second it, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Henderson. Councillor Bray, do you wish to speak to this, this new amended motion?
Madam Mayor, I believe there's been enough discussion on this matter. The reasons are clearly stated in the new amendment, the reason for refusal of this permit.
Thank you. Councillor Henderson?
No, Madam Mayor.
Does anyone else wish to speak to the motion? Anyone wish to speak against the motion? Then I'll put the motion. All those in favour, raise their hand. Councillor Henderson, Councillor Halliday, Councillor Simpson, Councillor Hood, Councillor Bray. Those against? Councillor Dryling and Councillor Hewitt. The motion is carried. Thank you, councillors. Thank you, Ms. Southey. We're moving on now to item 11, 11.1, strategic planning, the Hepburn Planning Scheme Amendment C77 Hep B, review of submissions and next steps. Ms. Southey is being presented by you, given Mr. Musgrove's an apology.
Good evening, councillors. You'll be getting sick of the sound of my voice by now, so I'll keep it short and sweet. As most of you are aware, we've got C77 amendment, which is to the Hepburn Planning Scheme for flooding, for areas that are to include flooding inundation controls within the flood affected areas of Clunes and Creswick. C77 has recently been to a planning panel, and the recommendations from this panel are now being presented to council for consideration. The officer's recommendation is to support the panel recommendation in its entirety. Over to you, councillors.
Thank you, Ms. Southey. Any questions of Ms. Southey at this point? Then I have the officer's recommendation, which I'll read out, that Council 1 accepts the panel recommendation for Amendment 77 Hep B in Attachment 1 in the agenda. 2, adopts Planning Scheme Amendment C77 Hep B as exhibited with mapping changes as outlined in Attachment 2 and post-exhibition text changes outlined in Attachment 3. 3, authorises council officers to adjust Scheme Amendment C77 Hep B text for the purpose of ensuring compliance with the planning policy framework format requirements established in Planning Scheme Amendment C80 Hep B. 4, submits the adopted amendment to the Minister for Planning for approval. And 5, advises all submitters of this resolution and of next steps. I'm in search of a motion. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Councillor Henderson, Councillor Halliday. Councillor Henderson, is your hand up for, you're muted?
Madam Mayor, I'm happy to second that.
So I moved Councillor Halliday, seconded Councillor Henderson. Does anyone wish to speak against the motion? Councillor Halliday, do you wish to speak to the motion?
No, thank you, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Henderson? Anyone else? In which case I'll put the motion as I read out. All those in favour, please raise your hand. Councillor Halliday, Councillor Hood, Councillor Simpson, Councillor Henderson, Councillor Bray, Councillor Dryling and myself, Councillor Hewitt. The motion's carried. Item 12, 12.1 Hepburn Hub at the Rex, September update. Mr. Lucas.
Good evening, Madam Mayor. The purpose of this report, councillors, is to provide council with an update on the project and enable council to monitor the progress of the project, and we do that with this monthly report. Comes to you at each meeting. The endorsed project scope remains the same for the facility at just over 2,000 square metres of enclosed indoor space. Councillors, there's been a bit of activity this month with regards to reviewing contract documents and plans and commencing a new procurement process. The current tender is in the market as we speak and is currently scheduled to close on the 1st of October. That will enable sufficient time for officers to undertake a comprehensive tender evaluation process. And we anticipate that we'll be able to bring a report to the November council meeting for council to consider awarding the contract to complete the project.
Thank you, Mr. Lucas. Does any councillor have any questions of Mr. Lucas on his report? Councillor Hood.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. A question for Mr. Lucas. Mr. Lucas, mindful that the primary purpose of this project is to provide accommodation for council employees, at our July meeting, council has passed a resolution asking management to examine a number of health and safety issues as they relate to the current accommodation used by council staff. I'm wondering if you can provide us with an update on the work that you've undertaken to date.
Thank you, Councillor Hood, and through the chair. In short, yes, I can. We have undertaken a procurement so preparing a bit of a scope on what that project might look like, undertaken a procurement process and identified a preferred supplier to undertake that assessment. Officers have taken the opportunity to, through the procurement process, to look at options to do just the town hall site in accordance with the council determination, but also to explore options to do so with economies of scale, to look at the other two work office sites in Daylesford, being Duke Street and the VIC facility. And at the moment, it is financially attractive to have the same assessment undertaken at all three sites. I don't think the contractor has been appointed to do that work at the moment, but that's imminent. So the assessment should take place over the coming weeks, subject to the availability of the contractors that potentially coming out of the metropolitan area and in lockdown need to understand the implications of that.
Councillor Hood.
I just through you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Lucas, for that explanation. Given the report that was put to us, the urgency is important. So the fact that you're reporting that the work may be done in a matter of weeks is reassuring. Thank you.
Any other questions of Mr. Lucas on this report? In which case, we've got an officer's recommendation that Council 1 receives and notes the September 2021 project update report regarding the Hepburn Hub at the Rex project. 2, notes that a new procurement process is commenced, and 3, notes that monthly reporting to Council and the community will continue. I'm in search of a motion. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Moved Councillor Dryly, seconded Councillor Hood. Does anyone wish to speak against the motion? Councillor Dryly, do you wish to speak to the motion? Councillor Hood?
No, thank you, Madam Mayor.
In which case, I'll put the motion to the vote. All those in favour raise their hand. Councillor Hood, Councillor Halliday, Councillor Simpson, Councillor Henderson, Councillor Dryly, Councillor Bray and myself, Councillor Hewitt, and the motion is carried unanimously. Item 12.2, Hepburn Hub at the Rex, the project reference group terms of reference. Mr. Lucas, over to you again, please.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This project or this report also relates to the Hepburn Hub project. And at the 15th of June council meeting, council determined to establish a project reference group for the Hepburn Hub project. That was in order to try and build a greater connection and transparency and communication on project status with community and stakeholders. And this report seeks council's endorsement of the draft terms of reference to support the invitation of an invitation to community for membership on that proposed reference group. The draft terms of reference are attached to the report.
Thank you, Mr. Lucas. Does anyone have any questions? Councillor Bray.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And thank you, Mr. Lucas. I'm wondering if perhaps you could read the summary purpose of the project reference group, just to outline clearly for us tonight what the purpose of this group is and its primary function.
Certainly, Councillor Bray. So the introduction in the terms of reference, and I will read it. The Hepburn Hub project will see the construction of a multi-purpose facility in Daylesford. Hepburn Hub will provide a library service, customer service, community auditorium, digital co-working space and council offices. The location is 47 to 53 Vincent Street, Daylesford, the site of the former Rex Theatre. In June 2021, Council resolved the scope and budget for the facility. As a result, the facility design has been completed and a formal tender process commenced. The scope includes the renovation of the existing facility, including the historic theatre, to provide a new facility for community. Given the status of the project and the confirmed design, there is little opportunity to influence the design features of the facility. Funding of the project has been approved by Council and also includes several government grants. The design of the facility has been completed and the project is currently out to tender. So the purpose of this group is to form an additional conduit to sharing information with community about the project, assist with community understanding of decision making, and review the completion of the construction and occupation stages. The project reference group is not a decision-making body and is intended to be a place where Council can share information on the project, hear community insights, discuss suggestions of possible minor changes, and answer questions the community might have on the development.
Thank you, Mr. Lucas.
Any further questions of Mr. Lucas? In which case, I have a recommendation that Council endorses the Hepburn Hub at the Rex Project Reference Group and the terms of reference. I'm in search of a motion. Do I have a mover? Councillor Bray. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Halliday. Is there anyone who wishes to speak against the motion? Councillor Henderson. I noted. Anyone else? Councillor Bray, do you wish to speak to the motion?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I think the opportunity for the community to be involved at this point in such a large project that involves such a large investment from Council, but is also significant as a central hub for the whole Shire, is important to have that sort of level of involvement from the community, and the opportunity for this reference group. It is not to make changes in the design. It is more to monitor the progress of the project and to be a conduit for, as Mr. Lucas said, for the community to understand what's happening with the project.
Thank you, Councillor Bray. Councillor Halliday and then Councillor Henderson. Do you wish to speak to the motion, Councillor Halliday?
No, thank you, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Henderson, you wish to speak against the motion?
Yes, I do, Madam Mayor, and I do so because I don't think the process is right. When you have a project reference group, that usually starts at the start of the project and not midway through it or at the tender stage. Having said that, I think it's unusual to have a potential tenant or a potential lessee to be part of the group, and we're selecting this group on a basis of what knowledge they're going to and expertise they put. I would dearly hope that the theatre group, being the Hepburn Shire Theatre Group, not the Daylesford Theatre Group, I take it, because there are theatre group people who are interested from all over the Shire. Why would one group have a representative and the rest of the Shire have only somebody who has to be an expert or have some expertise in the area of communication to the public? I mean, I thought we had communications officers who were very good at doing that, communicating in our officers who give us reports on the progress of the thing. So I don't see why 6 members have to go through the ringer and be told you have to have meet a certain criteria, and one person who can be anybody, as long as they're part of the theatre group, can be on that group, merely because they're a potential, well, because they're a part of the, are going to be a user group that's going to use the theatre. Not really opposed that much to it, but I just think there's it's not a proper process in my view.
Thank you, Councillor Henderson. Councillor Bray, you will have the right of reply at the end of the debate. Does anyone wish to speak in favour of the motion? Councillor Dryly?
Point of order, Madam Mayor. I think Councillor Henderson meant the cinema group, not the theatre group. Just a clarification.
Yes, Daylesford Cinema Group. Yep. Are you wishing to speak in favour of the motion?
Yes, Madam Mayor, I'd like to speak in favour. I think that it's, given the fraught nature of this project and the history that's gone before it in terms of the lack of community consultation and at, you know, no fault of this council and a number of councillors in the past. And it's, I think that the opportunity for council to participate at this level is important. And, you know, I understand that there's limited scope to actually change the direction at this point, but it's just to have some input and the ability to oversee the direction, well, not even oversee, but to see some direction from the community in this project is important. And I think there is, in terms of the stakeholder engagement, I think it's reasonable that a major user of the facility, you know, it's a very much going to be a fixed facility in the centre. So I think that there's going to be an ongoing use there that they deserve to have some input as well.
Thank you, Councillor Dryly. Does anyone else wish to speak against the motion? Councillor Hood?
I wish to speak for it, Madam
Okay,
Mayor.
I'm just looking to see if anyone wish to speak against the motion. Councillor Hood, you may speak for the motion.
Yeah, but in speaking for the motion, I'm agreeing with my colleague Councillor Dryly and some of the comments he just made, but also agreeing with Councillor Henderson and some of the comments that he made, that it is unusual to appoint a reference group at this stage of a project. That certainly is so unusual, but we find ourselves on this project continually in very unusual circumstances. So I do see that, given that, the reference group can possibly add some value, not as much as they normally would if they had been involved right from the outset, but we can't turn the clock back. I would emphasise, though, that their chief function, if they are to be constructive in this process, is one of communication. Because on this project, there is obviously a lot of miscommunication and misinformation that flies about. And I would see the role of this reference group to communicate clearly back to the community about where the project's at and what's happening and why, and also to bring community views to the table. So I think the breadth of the scope of the reference group it's probably what you would normally expect, but under these circumstances, it's too broad, and it really should just be a focus on communication. And I think they can add some value there.
Thank you, Councillor Hood. Is there any councillor who hasn't spoken yet who would wish to speak? And then I'll give Councillor Bray her right of reply. Councillor Bray?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And I think Councillor Hood summed up everything I was going to say. I agree with Councillor Henderson that, yes, you don't normally have a reference group appointed at this point in the process, but unfortunately this process hasn't been conducted in the best way, and that's, as Councillor Dryly said, it's a previous council that we've inherited this project from. So hoping that going forward we can do things better, we can hear from our community, we can involve them in the process at this level, and look forward to getting on with the REX project and actually getting it done, and looking forward to what it will bring to the community.
Thank you, Councillor Bray. So I will now put the motion that Council endorses the Hepburn Hub at the REX project reference group terms of reference. All those in favour? Raise your hand. Councillor Hood, Councillor Halliday, Councillor Simpson, Councillor Dryly, Councillor Bray, myself, Councillor Hewitt. Those against? Councillor Henderson. The motion is carried. Item 12.3, minutes of community asset committees. Mr. Burgess, Mr. Andrew Burgess, our Director of Organisational Services, to introduce the report.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through you, I'll be presenting this report if that's okay.
Okay, brilliant, excellent.
Thank you. Thank you, councillors, and through you, Madam Mayor. The report before you is one that is familiar to you. It's administrative in nature, as you know, and it reflects council's current community asset committees of council. Community asset committees are established by council under section 65 of the Local Government Act 2020, and their function and responsibilities are outlined in their instrument of delegation. Tonight, councillors, the officer recommendation for council is to note the meeting minutes from Lee Medlin Home of Bottles Community Asset Committee, both at an annual general meeting and a general meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ford. Does anyone have any questions of Ms. Ford on this matter? Okay, so the officer's recommendation that we receive and note the minutes of the Community Asset Committee, which have been distributed to us from their annual general meeting on the 16th of August 2021 and their general meeting on the 16th of August 2021. Have a mover? I'm in search of a motion. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Moved, Councillor Hood. Do I have a seconder? Seconded, Councillor Halliday. Does anyone wish to speak against the motion? Councillor Hood, do you wish to speak to the motion?
No, thank you, Madam Mayor. I don't think need to.
Councillor Halliday?
No, thank you, Madam Mayor.
In which case I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Councillor Bray, Councillor Henderson, Councillor Dryly, Councillor Simpson, Councillor Halliday, Councillor Hood, and myself, Councillor Hewitt. We're now moving to item 13.1, Reconciliation Action Plan, Advisory Committee, terms of reference. Mr. Burgess, could you introduce this report, please?
Through you, Madam Mayor, and thank you for that. Councillors, this report is in relation to the Reconciliation Action Plan Advisory Committee. The current term of the incumbent Reconciliation Action Plan Advisory Committee expired on the June 30 of 2021 in preparation for the expression of interest process for the new Advisory Committee. The revised terms of reference have been drafted to provide a clearer understanding of the role and function of the Advisory Committee and to be more inclusive of First Nations people and the broader community. The terms of reference have been attached for Council's information. Councillors, the changes that have been made to the format of the terms of reference to give it a more logical flow and improved readability are attached as per the table on page 327. The table on pages 328 to 330, councillors identifies the more notable content changes that have also been made to the terms of reference. I'll just call out a couple of those in relation to that, and it includes the inclusion of the Hepburn Shire Council acknowledgement graphics into the terms of reference, the change of the community reference group name to an advisory committee, the increased membership term from 18 months to a 3-year and a 4-year split term between members, and the appointment of members. Importantly, councillors, the inclusion on table 2 under 5.3 conditions of members of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander members' remuneration rates. The reason behind that is that the Advisory Committee is currently a voluntary committee with low Aboriginal representation. The purpose of a sitting fee is to acknowledge the specialised advice and cultural load carried by Indigenous members. The Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander community represent a small percentage of our population, and the call on their skills and expertise and knowledge is large and spans across multiple local government areas. A large number of possible members do not exist to spread that cultural load. The cultural load is the amount of culture-specific knowledge required to understand or perform a task. Non-Indigenous voluntary members provide advice to Council on reconciliation and engage in acts of reconciliation. The Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander members provide cultural protocol, knowledge and experience to inform the Advisory Committee and Council on on options for achieving the deliverables within the RAP. The representation of First Nation members provides greater integrity to the Advisory Committee. We cannot advance reconciliation without those members. Councillors, an expression of interest process will be undertaken in relation to the terms of reference, and the details of that are detailed within the actual terms of reference itself. It will be implemented to ensure there is a Shire-wide and broader advertisement of membership to the Reconciliation Action Plan Advisory Committee through areas such as the Council website, Council's digital channels, Facebook page, emails, targeted contact with relevant groups, our Hepburn Life newsletter, Indigenous media outlets and publications. Expression of interest will be received via our secure online Smarty Grants platform, and we'll also accept mailed applications when requested. Councillors, I do have a recommendation to put to you, and that recommendation is that Council endorses the Reconciliation Advisory Committee terms of reference. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thanks, Mr. Burgess. Does anyone have any questions of Mr. Burgess? In which case I'm in search of a motion as read out by Mr. Burgess. The Council endorses the Reconciliation Advisory Committee terms of reference. I have a mover, Councillor Henderson. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Hood. Councillor Henderson, do you wish to speak to the motion?
Briefly, Madam Mayor. Madam Mayor, this is one of the most important committees that we have on our council. It's integral to what our community really believe, that we should be having proper reconciliation, and it's proper that we actually have some Aboriginal people on that committee. And so I really admire the work that's been done to date by the Reconciliation Action Plan group. They've really made great steps forward, and I would hope that they continue their good work, and I hope that we get some really good applications and that this goes from strength to strength. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Henderson. Councillor Hood.
Madam Mayor, I will echo that this is a terribly important area, and it is one that a council ought to be rightfully proud of with the work that has been done to date. And I commend officers and Mr. Burgess on making the terms of reference even more robust.
Thank you. Anyone wish to speak against the motion? Anyone wish, Councillor Bray, wish to speak to the motion?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I wish to support the motion to endorse these terms of reference. I believe we're all very proud of what our Reconciliation Action Plan and the committee have achieved so far. And I'm looking forward to the further work that they will do. The important work of acknowledging our history, of truth telling, of sharing stories and culture, and educating our community, healing country, and to bring understanding and reconciliation to our Shire.
Thank you, Councillor Bray. Does anyone else wish to speak to the motion? Councillor Dryling.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just to say that I wholeheartedly support this motion, and it makes a lot of sense to bring expertise in and to pay them for that service as it makes, as we would do in other circumstances. And I fully support this. This is a good step.
Thank you, Councillor Dryling. Any other councillor wish to speak to the motion? In which case I'll put the motion that council endorses the Reconciliation Advisory Committee terms of reference. All those in favour, raise your hand. Councillor Henderson, Councillor Simpson, Councillor Halliday, Councillor Hood, Councillor Bray, Councillor Dryling and myself, Councillor Hewitt, and just take this opportunity to once again thank the retiring members of the RAP whose terms finished, and acknowledge the excellent work that they've all done, and perhaps some of them indeed will reapply for this new RAP. 13.2, appointment of new members to the International Women's Day Committee. Mr. Burgess.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councillors, at the ordinary meeting of Council on the 20th of July 21, Council endorsed the terms of reference for the Heather Mutimer International Women's Day Honour Roll Advisory Committee. From the 22nd of July 21 until 11th of August 2021, Council called for applications from suitably qualified and experienced community members for appointment to the committee. The endorsed terms of reference state that membership will comprise of a councillor as a chair and between 4 to 7 community members who are committed to working positively to meet the objectives of the committee. Councillors, I'm pleased to say that Council received 7 community applications and all have been assessed as suitable. In relation to those applications, all applicants were assessed against the criteria based on the endorsed terms of reference. The advisory committee members' criteria for selection included demonstration of the following: an interest, knowledge and understanding of relevant practices that advance women's rights, direct links to our local community populations and or organisations, experience and or understanding of the role of an advisory committee, and a high level of female representation will be encouraged. Councillors, I'm very pleased to say that, as I said, we received 7 very high quality applications, and I have a recommendation for you to consider, and that is the Council appoints the following community members to the Heather Mutimer International Women's Day Honour Roll Advisory Committee, being Sue Craven, Karen McAloon, Lisa Gervasoni, Barbara Curzon-Siggers, Elizabeth Bolton, Emma Whitfield Rooney, and Narelle Groenhout. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Burgess. Anyone got any questions of Mr. Burgess? Councillor Henderson. You're muted,
Unless I misheard you, Mr. Burgess, I thought Elizabeth Bolton was actually an applicant.
Yeah,
And
she was.
I might have missed you saying it.
Yeah, she was read out.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Do I have any other questions? I'm in search of a motion. Yes, Councillor Bray.
Clarify on my notes, you've got Mr. Burgess read out Narelle Groenhout.
Yes,
Correct.
that's correct. Sue Craven, Karen McAloon, Leva Gervasoni, Barbara Curzon-Siggers, Emma Bolton, Emma Whitfield Rooney, and Narelle Greenholt.
Thank you.
I'm in search of a motion. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Moved Councillor Bray, seconded Councillor Simpson. Anyone wish to speak against the motion? Councillor Bray, do you wish to speak to the motion?
No, thank you, Madam Mayor.
Councillor Simpson?
No, thank you, Madam Mayor.
Any other councillor? Councillor Henderson?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. I think something as important as this, we should, I know we're only appointing members, but we should be very pleased to see that the quality of the applicants, I must make mention of that because they come from a wide and diverse background. They also have quite a great deal of skill and knowledge of the issue at hand. And I think that with over 55% of our community women, I think that it's very important that we do separate this from all other events. It's been a very popular event over the years. It's waned somewhat and waxed and waned, I might say, but it's been very well supported by people from the whole, right across the Shire. And I think that it's important to acknowledge the work that the women do in our community and have done in the past and continue to do in our community. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Henderson. Anyone else wish to speak to the motion? In which case I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour? Councillor Bray, Councillor Dryly, Councillor Henderson, Councillor Simpson, Councillor Halliday and myself, Councillor Hewitt. The motion is carried unanimously. I'm going to ask Mr. Burgess to introduce the item 13.3, recommendation for funding community grants programs 2021-2022 round 1. Councillors, as I'm declaring a conflict of interest in this matter, I need to depart the chair and therefore I need a councillor to move a motion to appoint a temporary chair in my absence. And the proposed motion is that the Deputy Mayor, Councillor Hood, be appointed as temporary chairperson. Do I have a mover? Councillor Henderson, and a seconder? Councillor Halliday. All those in favour? Councillor Henderson, Councillor Bray, Councillor Dryly, Councillor Hood, Councillor Simpson, Councillor Halliday, and myself, Councillor Hewitt. And Mr. White, I'll ask you to put me into the waiting room.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Doing that now.
Thank you.
All yours, Councillor Hood.
Unmute myself. Mr. Burgess, you're presenting this report, I believe.
Yes, thank you. Through you, Councillor Hood. Councillors, the Community Grants Program of 2021-22 aligns with the Council plan to support the strengthen the community capacity and resilience. Eligible community groups can access funds in 4 rounds annually across 5 categories that support a range of community needs. 5 applications were received for round 1, 21-22. 4 applications have been recommended for full funding and 1 application was deemed ineligible. Councillors, I will just let you know that Office has implemented a communications plan for round 1 of the Community Grants Program prior to that round opening. This included print media, advertisements, multiple Facebook posts, phone calls and emails to community groups throughout the Shire. Consideration for the delivery of the projects in the evolving coronavirus pandemic was also given weight as part of the assessment panel. Applications opened on the 1st of July 2021 and closed on the 29th of July 21. During that time, council officers, as I said, to numerous community groups across the Shire to ensure that we supported applicants to submit their applications. Councillors, I have a recommendation before you or to put to you tonight, and that is that Council 1 awards round 1 community grant program funding totalling $4,969, supporting community projects worth $13,419 to applicants in the following categories. Under category A, project named Sprout, a celebration of spring, community group being the Daylesford and District Horticultural Society, with a grant amount of $2,500 being recommended. Project 2, the Daylesford Lawn Tennis Club past and present, with the community group being the Daylesford Lawn Tennis Club, the project amount, the grant amount being $2,469. And then secondly, councillors, awards round 1 community grant program funding a further $1,133.92, supporting community projects worth in total $3,415 to applicants in the following categories. Category B grants, project name, the Seniors Kitchen Update for the community group, the Creswick and District Senior Citizens. Grant amount was $1,133.92. And thirdly, councillors, awards round 1 community grant program funding of $2,456.50, supporting community projects worth in total $2,456.50 to applicants in the following categories. Category D grants, project names being The Lost Things, with the community group being the Sprung Circus Incorporated, with a total of $2,456.50. Thank you, Councillor.
Thank you, Mr. Burgess. Councillors, are there any questions of Mr. Burgess? He has read out a recommendation. I'm in search of a motion, please. Councillor Henderson, seconded Councillor Halliday. Councillor Henderson, you wish to speak?
Just briefly, Mr. Deputy Mayor, I think that we depend upon our community groups to deliver things right across the board, including it's really good to see that our youth are getting a grant, and right from the youth to the oldest people, their community being the Sprung Circus and the senior sits, and sort of everyone else in between. So the work of our community groups just takes so much burden off council. We couldn't do the work that the community groups do and give the support to the community that they do, and it's great to be able to assist them in that work, in even in the smaller way. What seems to be a small amount of money to us is a lot of money to a community group. So I commend it to my colleagues. Thank you.
Thank you, councillor Henderson. Councillor Halliday, do you wish to speak?
No, I don't think I need to. Thank you so much.
Right. Does anyone wish to speak against the motion? Anyone else wish to speak for the motion? That being the case, we'll put the motion, moved councillor Henderson, seconded councillor Halliday, the officer's recommendation. All those in favour? Councillor Henderson, Councillor Bray, Councillor Halliday, Councillor Simpson, Councillor Dryley and myself. The motion is passed unanimously. Thank you. I believe we now reintroduce Madam Mayor back into the meeting. Mr. White.
Yep, thank you, Councillor Hood.
Thank you. Welcome back, Madam Mayor. Can you see and hear us?
Yes, Councillor Hood, I can see and hear you.
I can confirm that I can see and hear you too, and I'm pleased to advise that the officer's recommendation on the grants was passed unanimously.
Thank you,
Hand back to you.
Thank you, Councillor Hood. We'll now move on to item 14.3. This is the draft. Is that where I'm up to? Sorry, I might have. No, sorry, I've skipped a couple of pages here. We're on to item 14.1, the annual financial report and performance statement 2020 to 2021. And again, I'd introduce Mr. Andrew Burgess, the Director of Organisational Services. Mr. Burgess.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councillors, this report aims to present to Council the draft annual financial report and performance statement for your in-principle approval. The financial and performance statement are still subject to audit clearance, however, have been finalised to a stage where the draft statements are presented for Council consideration, as any changes are expected to be very minimal. Details are included in this report. Sorry, I'll say that again, councillors. Details are included in this report, including the key issues section that details Council's performance during the 2020-21 financial year. Council's Audit and Risk Committee have met on the 16th September to review in detail these reports and have recommended the Council approve the statements. Councillors, I will bring your attention to a couple of pieces within those reports, so the attachments are quite lengthy. The annual financial report has been prepared in accordance with the Local Government Better Practice Guide, Model Financial Report and Local Government Better Practice Guide performance reporting templates. The following statements have been contained in the report: the comprehensive income statement, the balance sheet, the statement of changes in equity, the statement of cash flow, the statement of capital works, the notes to the financial statements and the performance statements. The financial statements provide information on the current and prior year balances and information as required by accounting standards, the Local Government Act 1989 and regulations. Councillors, as I said, the attachments have been provided, but I will draw Council's attention particularly to the total unrestricted and unallocated financial assets with unrestricted and unallocated cash of only 0.84 million or 842,000. This will need to be carefully managed by Council over the coming years. This has been mentioned previously or earlier tonight by Councillor Hood. Council's unrestricted and unallocated cash was 1.3 million as of the 30th of June 2020, and when compared to other local governments is lower than the average, predominantly due to Council being a lower rating council than average. Council will be preparing and adopting a long-term financial plan, which I'll talk to later tonight, councillors, for 10 years during 21-22 as part of the implementation of the Local Government Act, and that review will look at the long-term unrestricted cash balances. Councillors, I have a recommendation before you that once the final statements have been approved in principle by Council, certified by the nominated councillors and the independent auditor's report received from the Victorian Auditor General's Office, they will form part of Council's annual report, which will be forwarded to the Minister by the 30th of September 2021. Councillors, the actual recommendation is that following that Council, pursuant to section 132 2 of the Local Government Act 1989, gives in principle approval to the financial statements and performance statement for the year ended 30th of June 2021. 2, that pursuant to section 132 2 of the Local Government Act 1989, Council authorises the Mayor Leslie Hewitt and Deputy Mayor Brian Hood to certify the 2020-21 annual financial report and performance statement in their final forms after any changes recommended or agreed to by the auditors have been made. And 3, note that once the final statements have been certified by the nominated councillors and the independent auditor's report received from the Victorian Auditor General's Office, they will form part of the Council's annual report, which will be forwarded to the Minister by 30 September 2021. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thanks. Thank you, Mr. Burgess. Do anyone have any questions of Mr. Burgess at this stage? Councillor Hood.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, I do have a question of Mr. Burgess. Within the notes to the accounts, buried way down in the detail, as they usually are, there is mention of a contingent liability to do with work cover. That the contingent liability is not quantified, and I'm wondering if officers could give councillors and the community some sort of an indication of what that estimated liability might be at this stage.
Through you, Madam Mayor, and thank you for your question, Councillor Hood. That amount has not been included in the report because we don't have a final or clear figure. We are aware that that contingent liability could be anywhere between $200,000 to $400,000, $500,000 that council needs to account for.
Through you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Burgess. I just wanted an indication of the approximate amount. I do have another question, if I may, Madam Mayor, for Mr. Burgess.
You may.
Contained within the performance report, the non-financial part of the report, there is a very disturbing statistic, and I'm, along with my colleagues, no doubt mindful that the vast range of services and works that are undertaken by council on behalf of the community are done so with our workforce. And I do note that in the past 3 years, the workforce turnover rate has increased from 17% to 22.5% and is increasing each year. Losing 22.5% of our staff each year is not very positive. It's not very sustainable. I'm wondering if you could indicate broadly what management is doing to address that particular trend.
Thank you again, through you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Hood. In relation to staff turnover and retention, it is a point of interest and point that the executive has turned its mind to and will continue to work very hard on to ensure that we arrest that rate. There are a number of factors that are involved in that, of which COVID-19 and has certainly played a part. It's not the only part, but there's certainly been some significant change in our workforce over that time. What we will be doing is putting together a workforce plan, which will be required by December this year. And we've also undertaken business unit planning directly to work with our senior leadership team and our managers, and to ensure that we are supporting our people and ensuring that we're giving them every opportunity to progress and remain with council.
Councillor Hood.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Burgess. Thanks for that explanation. Councillors will be very keen, I think, I certainly will, but to see a new workforce strategy to attract and retain good employees.
Thank you, Councillor Hood. Councillor Bray.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, and thank you, Mr. Burgess. Could you please provide some clarification on why there's a net loss on disposal of assets, which has increased by 3.39 million, or is the figure of that amount? It just seems an odd thing to have a loss on the disposal of assets.
Through you, Madam Mayor, I might actually call on the CEO to support me on this answer in relation to it, to make sure that we have absolute clarity for councillors.
More than happy, thank you, Mr. Burgess. Happy to answer that one, councillors. It's a really bit of an abnormality in accounting standards, and particularly that of local government. It really relates to when we conduct capital works and renew our infrastructure assets, so roads, footpath, drains and the like. The accounting writing off of those assets are based on really the asset going from 0 to 100. And depreciates over that time. Whereas, of course, we don't want to leave our roads and our footpaths get as bad as what 100 would be, and before we repair them. So we often are repairing our roads, renewing those roads where there's still some life left in them. Obviously, if we left them till they were completely impassable, that wouldn't be appropriate. So that non-cash figure, which is a loss, is the disposal, which is that sort of accounting treatment of the amount that's left over at the end. So non-cash item, really regular and local government financial statements. And as our asset management data improves and our forward planning of our capital works, we'll actually be able to work on sort of renewing those depreciation rates and trying to budget for that. But yeah, important to note, non-cash item, regular accounting treatment, and yeah, just a bit of an unusual treatment there. Hopefully that's helpful, councillors.
Thank you. Just wondering, was there any land as part of that disposal of assets? Was that involved in that at all?
Yes, there was some land sales that had been signed and processed in prior financial years, but the contract and the finalisation of those came to appear early in this financial year as well. So obviously that all forms part of it, also forms part of any loss and disposal, sort of, so IT equipment, plant and equipment, all that sort of things as well. But the biggest proportion by far and away is that infrastructure renewal.
Any other questions of either Mr. Burgess or Mr. Thomas? Now, I'm just conscious of the time, councillors. So before we look for a motion with the councillor's recommendation, I would like a motion to extend council meeting time past our 9 o'clock deadline. We've still got some important financial matters to consider. So I'm wondering if any of my colleagues would be prepared to move a motion to extend Councillor Hood, extend past 9 o'clock for, I'll get you to specify the time. Do I don't want to repeat our experience of the other several months ago, so perhaps we could set a time limit on it, or do you want, councillors, looking to see, do you want to move until the business is completed? Councillor Hood, over to you. You're moving the motion.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It would be difficult to approximate a precise time. I'd be happy to move that we continue to work through the agenda until we satisfactorily address each of the items. I'm confident that we can do that.
Thank you, Councillor Hood. Do I have a seconder? No, I don't have a seconder for the motion. Councillor Henderson. Do you wish to speak? Anyone wish to speak in favour of the motion? Councillor Hood?
Look, I'm confident that we can do justice to the agenda items without going to an extraordinary hour of the night. I wouldn't hazard a guess at how long it might take. I'll leave it at that, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Henderson. Anyone wish to speak against the motion? Councillor Halliday.
Yeah, I would like there to be a time limit of 10 p.m.
Noted. You can move another motion if Councillor Hood's motion fails. Councillor Henderson? No, you muted, Councillor Henderson.
Councillor Halliday could move an amendment.
She could, all right.
Okay, I'm happy to move an amendment that we increase the meeting time until 10 p.m. when we may or may not choose to extend the time further.
No, you can't extend it again once you can only have one extension.
Oh, really? Okay,
Yes.
well, as Brian said, I think we can get it done in that time, but I think we should set a limit. So, yeah, okay, I'll move a motion to extend it till 10 p.m. You accept
Councillor,
it, Brian?
Councillor, would you accept that amendment?
Without wishing to be difficult, Madam Mayor, no, I don't. I'm not sorry. I was going to say I'm sorry, but no, look, when you look at the items that are on the remaining part of the agenda, some of which are financial, they are long-term financials, there are some planning matters, there are some other things. I'm not sure that I'd be so bold as to confidently predict that we could handle them in 1 hour between 9 and 10 p.m. I think it might take a little longer than that, but I don't think it would take to an unreasonable hour. I think we might need a little bit more than an hour past 9.
All right, so you don't accept the amendment. Does anyone else want to second Councillor Halliday's amendment? Councillor Simpson, do you want to speak to it? All right, so we'll put the amendment, which is that the meeting, we
Sorry,
continue.
Councillor Hewitt. Sorry to interject. Just to confirm, Councillor Hood's moved a motion to extend the meeting, which
Yeah.
was seconded by Councillor Henderson.
Yeah.
Councillor Halliday has put forward a amendment and was not accepted by Councillor Hood.
So I have to put Councillor Hood's motion now, right?
So Councillor Hood's motion is the motion on the table that needs a vote.
Thank you. Yep. So we'll put Councillor Hood's motion that we move to allow, for as long as it takes to allow the continued transaction of council business to occur. All those in favour? Councillor Hood, Councillor Henderson, Councillor Dryly, Councillor Bray, and myself, Councillor Hewitt. So the motion is carried. But we note Councillor Halliday's and Councillor Simpson's wishes, and I'm sure we'll work hard to transact the business of council in a reasonable time. Are there any further questions of Mr. Burgess on item 14.1? In which case we've got the officer's recommendation as read out by Mr. Burgess. Won't read it again, it's been read once. I'm in search of a motion. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Moved Councillor Hood, seconded Councillor Dryly. Anyone who wishes to speak against the motion? Councillor Hood, then would you like to speak to your motion?
Yes, I will, Madam Mayor, briefly. As Mr. Burgess rightly pointed out, there are some very significant messages within this report. I know that financial statements can be pretty dry reading for non-accountants, but there are certainly some very key messages in that report, both for councillors and for the community. It is of concern, obviously, that we incurred an underlying deficit, and in reading the notes, that deficit cannot entirely be attributed to COVID. In fact, they're roughly the same amount. If COVID hadn't have had a financial impact, we still only would have pretty much broken even. We've already heard tonight about the very low levels of unrestricted cash. As I said earlier, that doesn't give us much room to move. There's not much of a buffer against unexpected emergencies or for other initiatives that we may want to introduce. And we've also heard that there are liabilities coming that aren't in the balance sheet yet. On the positive side, I do note that Council expended more than $9 million in capital works again through the year, and has done that over the last 2 years. That's quite positive. But I do note too, and it'll come up in a later report, that the size of the carryover, as there always will be a carryover from one financial year to another, is quite large. So there are some sobering messages in there, because I'm also mindful that we've got quite an ambitious community plan that we want to implement, but the reality is we have a financial situation that needs some repair and is quite tight. So it's a challenging environment, but it will present some challenges going forward, but it's not to say that they can't be done. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Hood. Councillor Dryly?
Thanks, Madam Mayor. Just briefly, I just echo Councillor Hood's sentiments around the caution that this financial advice is preparing us for, and it's but also to say that the underlying message is that we're in a sound position in terms of risk, and that we are well guided with the team that we have in place, and that I have confidence that we will, you know, as a council group as well, we can continue to make good decisions in this space, and you know, and still have worthy projects to put up and put in place in a sound financial way.
Thanks, Councillor Dryly. Does anyone wish to speak against the motion? Does anyone else wish to speak in favour of the motion? In which case, I'll put the motion as read by Mr. Burgess. All those in favour? Councillor Hood, Councillor Halliday, Councillor Simpson, Councillor Henderson, Councillor Dryly, Councillor Bray and myself, Councillor Hewitt. The motion is carried, and I would just like to acknowledge and thank the officers for their work on this, Mr. Thomas and Mr. Brumby. The next item, item 14.2, the Financial Projects Report 2020 and 2021, incorporating the proposed carry forward. Mr. Burgess.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and Councillors. The purpose of this report is to report on the delivery of capital works and operational projects during the 2020-2021 period, and for Council to consider adopting recurrent operational capital projects to carry forward budget for 2021 and 2022. Carry forward projects, councillors, are those projects that have not been completed during the year, but funding will be carried forward. And these projects will be delivered in a new financial year, being this 21-22 period. This report sets out those items that are required to be carried forward in the 21-22 budget from the previous financial year. Councillors, I note the Council adopted the 21-22 budget at a meeting held on the 29th of June 21, and each year following the completion of the audited financial reports, and evaluation of operating and capital projects is then undertaken. Projects are evaluated on their status and updates are provided by officers regarding their completion. At the balance date of 30 June 21, a number of those projects have remained uncompleted. There's a number of reasons for that, including factors such as grant funding which had not been received and that was required for project completion, or project activities from current or previous years, and new or changed priorities that Council have been required to address. Councillors, a full listing of capital works, non-recurrent operational projects, carry forward projects are contained within the attachments that have been provided to you. I will point out that the net carry forward projects in total touch over $12.5 million. In relation to deliverability, which is obviously very important, and it's an extensive carry forward program, coupled with a large capital works budget already for our 21-22 period of some 11.65 million, as well as continued impacts of COVID pandemic, may result in the adjusted 21-22 budget, including carry forwards, being delivered. Officers will conduct a detailed analysis of the ability to deliver all projects budget review on the 31st, which is 31 December 21, and present those findings to Council. Councillors, I do have a recommendation for you tonight, and the recommendation is that Council notes the capital works and operational project report as of the 30th of June 21, and note that this will be placed on the Council website. Approves the capital works, non-recurrent operational projects and operational projects totaling 11,211.246212 net as listed in the report's attachment, and scheduled in the 2021 financial year as carry forward projects to be delivered in the 21-22, and notes a detailed review of deliverability of carry forward projects will be undertaken as part of the 21-22 mid-year budget review. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thanks, Mr. Burgess. Has anyone got any questions of Mr. Burgess on this matter? Councillor Henderson.
Yes, through you, Madam Mayor. Mr. Burgess, given all of the best things and listening to the CEO's report about staff, do we have enough staff to deliver these projects?
Through you, Madam Mayor. Thank you for that question, Councillor Henderson. Council has just undergone a process at the moment in relation to the realignment. Includes bringing in the 3 directorate model, which will then be supported by further staff recruitment to ensure that we have the ability to be able to actually undertake the works that are required, which is quite extensive in relation to these projects. So, Councillor Henderson, yes, I do believe we're on the right path to be able to deliver the projects that we have before us.
Thanks, Mr. Burgess. Anyone else got a question of Mr. Burgess? Then I'm in search of a motion. Do I got the officer's recommendation as read out? Do I have a mover and a seconder? Councillor Hood, your hand's up. Is that because you're moving the motion?
Well, I will now. I was going to ask a question, but it's okay. I'm happy to move the motion.
Do I have a seconder? Councillor Dryling. Does anyone want to speak against the motion? Councillor Hood, over to you.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. The aspect that I would need to touch on the most is what Mr. Burgess referred to as an ongoing review, not only at the half-year formal review and mid-year budget, as we call it in council land, but that as council, this group of councillors has already done, we need to review the capital works program quite regularly. As Mr. Burgess has pointed out, we're carrying forward capital works projects that are highly visible and they're worth 11.66 million. In the budget that this council adopted very recently for the new financial year, our new capital works budget was $11.65 million. We have $23.3 million worth of capital works on the books. And we've just heard that in the last 2 years, we've done works to the value of 9.3 million. So we're carrying 2.5 years worth of works, which also goes to Councillor Henderson's question about staffing and our capacity to actually deliver works and get contractors as well as our own staff to deliver it. So in a nutshell, our capital works program is huge. It's very ambitious. It warrants a very close review from the point of affordability, but also in our strategic direction. A lot of those carry forward works are inherited from previous councils, and we have to run them through the filter of our current plans and our current priorities as to what we really want to deliver and what the community expects of us. So I'm happy to adopt the report because it's financially accurate, but it does, again, has some very clear messages in it for us and for the community. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thanks, Councillor. Councillor Riley.
Madam Mayor. Yes, I would support Councillor Hood's comments around reviewing the capital works program in light of particularly legacy projects that might not fit our incoming council plan vision, that our community has spoken quite loudly in this space, and that we do need to be mindful of current priorities and our financial liabilities, given the amount of backlog of work that we have on our books already. I'm also confident that we can work through this and that our current council team can oversee this correctly. So it's I think that we're in good hands, but we also need to be mindful of our obligations to our community and our financial position.
Thanks, Councillor Riley. Does any other councillor wish to speak to the motion? Anyone wish to speak against the motion? In which case, I'll put the motion as read by Mr. Burgess. All those in favour, raise your hand. Councillor Hood, Councillor Halliday, Councillor Simpson, Councillor Henderson, Councillor Dryley, Councillor Bray, and myself, Councillor Hewitt. Thank you, councillors. This is item 14.3, the draft financial plan 2021 to 2031. Mr. Burgess.
Might take this one, Madam Mayor, if you don't mind. So before
Mr.
you at item 14.3 is Council's draft financial plan 21 to 31. And both councillors and the community, you'll see that the report was included in tonight's agenda and noted that there would be an attachment that we tabled tonight. Obviously a bit difficult to table it physically tonight, but tabled tonight and available on our website tomorrow, and has been made available to councillors for consideration tonight. Financial plan, a new requirement under the Local Government Act. The local government has undergone a substantial legislative change with the implementation of a new act since 2020. There's been a rolling range of new policies, processes and undertakings, and really that act has been enacted and replaces the 1989 Act, a very much principles-based approach. The financial plan, as it's referred to, and sometimes been previously known as the long-term financial plan, gives a 10-year snapshot of the financial and human resources that will be required in this organisation to deliver on the commitments of council. It will support the council plan, the community vision, and it will be supported by the various plans and strategies that are underpinned underneath it. So the workforce plan that's been provided, referenced previously, the asset plans, and all those other strategies that were developed during the year. We obviously have a number of them earmarked in the draft council plan. It's really important to note that council's included a number of key ratios in the draft council plan and reference the development of this long-term financial plan. Building on some of the conversations that's already been had, council is in a position that needs to be really closely monitored from a financial point of view, and that's what this 10-year financial plan does. It's really important, though, to note that this is a plan that can't sit on the shelf and needs to be continually reviewed and looked at, and included in the office's recommendation is a office's recommendation to include an annual review of the financial plan. That's not required under legislative, but we believe a really important option going forward. Important to note that significant community consultations occurred on the community vision and the council plan, and that's underpinned some of the thinking into the financial plan. The plan will be made available for a short period of community consultation online through the Participate Hepburn website, and then we'll be receiving that feedback, and we'll come to a special meeting of council late October, where council will consider the adoption of the community vision, the council plan and the financial plan all together. It's been based on template put together by Local Government Victoria, but I believe officers have gone the extra step and provided a fair bit more commentary to some of the reasons in there. It is a little bit business as usual in some of the assumptions that have been undertaken, and as we've noted, council will be undertaking more work around the assumptions, processes and strategies that are included in the financial plan on an ongoing basis. In your council agenda is the officer's recommendation that council, pursuant to section 91(1) of the Local Government Act 2020, notes the draft 10-year financial plan. 2, undertakes community engagement on the draft 10-year financial plan via the Participate Hepburn platform, ending on the 6th of October 2021. Acknowledges the financial plan forms part of the Hepburn Together project, and acknowledges the financial plan will be updated annually as part of the annual budget cycle. Happy to take questions, councillors.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas. Does anyone have any questions of Mr. Thomas on this matter? Councillor Bray.
Thank you, and thank you, Mr. Thomas, for all your work and your team's work on putting all this together. As Councillor Hood mentioned earlier, council are sitting in a, and you also mentioned, we are sitting in a fairly tight financial position. And looking forward to the next 10 years, it looks like you've made some safe bets around where we're getting our revenue from. Have you, in this 10-year projection, have you put in anything there around changes to rates at all? Any rate potential increases? Have you put in any assumptions in there around our rating differential review that we'll be undertaking in the coming months around the way we collect rates and the categories that people's rates are assessed about, and how would that impact on this 10-year plan?
No, thanks, Councillor. There's no specific changes in relation to the rates in this draft financial plan. So it's very much based on rates per the state government rate cap. We've modelled that on 2%. The state government will set that. It's really based on CPI. It's ranged between 1.5% and 2.5% over the last few years. So we've picked a sort of middle line in that 2%. What the plan allows for, though, is I suppose those decisions and changes to be made by council. So if a decision was made in 12 months' time, we come back and update it. The work that you reference is coming out of the revenue and rating strategy that council adopted in June, which was another requirement of the Local Government Act. As part of that, council earmarked a number of items that they would like to look at to consider as part of the rating differential. So how do we split the pie of rates up? Who pays more? The different asset classes and how we go through that. The review of rating differentials and the split of rates won't impact on the dollar amount of rates, and we can continue to do that work in the strategy. The things that would impact on the dollar amount of rates and therefore this financial plan is, do we raise in relation to the rate cap? How does our growth continue in terms of number of new properties into the Shire? And that's what we'll continue to update yearly.
Thanks, Mr. Thomas. Mr. Councillor Hood.
Madam Mayor, Mr. Thomas, once these financial projections are put out to the community for consultation, I understand that we will look to adopt this plan in October along with the community plan. Obviously, the two plans must go hand in glove. Are you able to reassure councillors that these two plans, the financial plan and the community plan, are very, very closely aligned and in sync with each other?
Absolutely, I can, councillors. What's important to note, though, is the financial plan is at a very high level. So how much are we going to spend on employee costs, materials and services and capital works? It doesn't delve down into, okay, we're going to do this strategy in this year, this capital works in this year, nor does the council plan. So the council plan says, right, here's the 118 actions that we want to undertake. The annual budget process that we undertake will be, okay, we're going to do these actions this year and these actions next year. So the financial plan provides the dollars to be allowed to do those works. Then we need to work through the budget process that says, right, you're going to do this strategy this year and these works next year. Really important, though, when we undertake that work is being mindful of our financial position. So when we're adopting strategies and working to them in the future, they need to relate back to our financial position. So we'll be undertaking that work going forward.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas. Are there any further questions of Mr. Thomas on this? In which case,
if I may, I will ask one more question of Mr. Thomas. Really, again, just to, not so much a question, but to seek his reaction. The schedules, the income statement on page 20 and 21 indicates that there'll be, all things considered, some very modest underlying results. But when the question goes to the source of our income, and you've explained what happens with rates and how constrained we are there, there is an item in there for operating grants income that ranges in the $7 to $8 million a year amount. That tells me that our current reliance on grant funding will remain into the future, and that's actually very high. That the figures would suggest that unless we achieve an 80 to 90% success rate in achieving grant income, operating grant income, not capital grants, operating grant, that we would be incurring underlying losses. So that the bottom line, the deficit or surplus, is hugely dependent on our ability to secure operating grants, which management has been successful on in recent times, but it does indicate a high reliance.
Absolutely, Councillor, and that's not unusual for local government, and particularly local government in a rural and regional setting. I suppose it's important to note a couple of things, and you referenced that just before. Been very successful in the recent past in terms of attracting grants. We have a grants officer because we understand the importance of actually attracting those grants, because that's how we can invest in services and projects. What would ultimately need to happen if we were unsuccessful in obtaining a number of those grant funding? We would have to look at the other side of things. So how can we reduce our cost base? How do we reduce that service, or how do we look at trying to deliver it in a more efficient manner? And we're always doing that, whether we get the grant or not. How do we enter into a partnership with a community group? So they're the types of things that we would work really closely with. Firstly, we acknowledge that grants and rates. So you take rates and grants, that's nearly 90%, might be over 90% of every council's revenue. So we have constrained revenue items, and that's why we work really closely with other organisations on partnering and advocacy to try and make that dollar go that little bit further.
Thank you. Are there any further questions of Mr. Thomas? In which case, I'm in search of a motion. We have the officer's recommendation that Mr. Thomas read out. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Moved Councillor Hood, seconded Councillor Halliday. Anyone wish to speak against the motion? Just Councillor Hood, would you like to speak to the motion?
I don't think I really need to say much more, Madam Mayor. Mr. Thomas has explained the closeness of these financial projections to our plan and the importance of it. And again, they are not a static document. They'll be continually reviewed, and I'll leave it at that, Madam Mayor.
Thanks, Councillor Hood. Councillor Halliday?
No, thank you, Madam Mayor.
Anyone else wish to speak to the motion? In which case, I'll put it as read out by Mr. Thomas. All those in favour? Councillor Hood, Councillor Halliday, Councillor Simpson, Councillor Henderson, Councillor Bray, Councillor Dryeley, and myself, Councillor Hewitt. The motion is carried. And again, thank you, Mr. Thomas, for that. And we note that it will now go on the website for public exhibition.
Thanks, councillors.
Item 14.4, Priority Projects 2021. Mr. Burgess.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Councillors, as a result of highly successful advocacy efforts targeting both state and federal governments during the 2021 financial year, 8 of our identified key projects received financial support totaling in excess of $9.8 million coming into council. These projects have been either now completed or are scheduled to commence construction within the next 18 months. This report, councillors, will detail that a number of other key priority projects that have been put forward for councillors to consider, and that list will include up to 11 projects that will provide council with a list of projects to support our continued advocacy efforts. This is important, councillors, because advocacy at this time, as we start to go towards a election cycle of both state and federal governments over the next 18 months, will provide opportunity for council to be able to secure further grant funding, of which was spoken about in the last report. Councillors, acknowledging that the draft council and vision for 2021-31 and our council plan, which obviously our community has contributed significantly into, it is really important to note that further key projects will be identified and considered for inclusion into this list of projects from our current and future strategies. They will include the key work that's being done at the moment around the aquatic strategy, our Hepburn settlement strategy and affordable housing and our role in advocacy there, sustainable Hepburn and projects that will come forward without a doubt from that significant project will be completed, and also any of our master plans. Councillors, I just note that all the project costs that are contained within the documentation before you are high-level estimates only and provided indicative level of investment required by government. They do not currently contain information on any council contributions budgeted or not budgeted. It's expected that this will be negotiated with our funding bodies depending on programs and the level of investment on offer. And so it's impossible actually to put those in at the moment, councillors, because we effectively await state government or federal government advice on what the funding ratios may be on some of the significant grant opportunities that will come our way, or could come our way, I should say. They will, however, be reflected in the council 10-year plan that the CEO has just presented to council. Councillors, I do have a recommendation for you to consider, and that is the council endorses the list of 11 key projects for advocacy activities seeking government funding during the 21-22 financial year. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Burgess. Does anyone have any questions of Mr. Burgess? Councillor Bray and then Councillor Simpson.
Thank you, Mr. Burgess, for presenting that report. And we're all very aware that we are heading towards 2 big elections coming up, and we do want to have our wish list ready. And I think all of the projects that you've listed are worthy of support. I suppose my question is around why we call them priority projects. We've just, clearly these projects are ones that council have been working on for some time. They're already at a state where they're ready. They're sort of ready to be handed to government to say, let's fund this. So there's already been done a bit of work on them. I just wonder though, given that we've just done a large amount of engagement with our community, and you did mention that there might be more we could add to this list that will come out of that Hepburn Together community engagement. Things like you mentioned, the aquatics strategies coming up, sustainable Hepburn strategies, issues around affordable housing. Those things might later be added to the list, but it seems that the word priority projects seems to suggest that this is our community's priority projects, when in fact it's probably more, it's projects that we've got ready now. Is there a way we could make this clearer what these projects really are?
Through you, Madam Mayor, and certainly Councillor Bray, in relation to the word priority projects, look, it's a word that's been chosen. It's been reflected within in the report itself, whether they're priority projects or key projects for council. Will be up to council to consider what wording might be more appropriate. But I would say that the projects that are themselves are projects that have come through the community in different ways at different times. So they're projects that have been the result of master planning work that's been done over a number of years, or that they have been projects that have been socialised with the community over some time. They're not certainly projects that have come directly out of the last round of extensive engagement that's occurred for our Hepburn Together project, although some of the key projects in here, whether it's rail trails or tracks and trails, certainly fit very nicely into what the community have told us they want to see prioritised within our shire and within and across our shire in relation to our ability to maximise the natural assets that we have here. So in relation to that, councillor, it's up to council if they don't want to call them priority projects. I will stress back to all councillors, absolutely we're going into a phase of significant strategies being developed, particularly in those areas that you called out, Councillor Bray, and I would fully expect that we will be adding some significant projects, priority projects or key projects, whatever council would like to call them, to this mix that we can advocate strongly on behalf of our community for government funding.
Thank you. Councillor Simpson.
Thank you, Mr. Burgess, for the report. Just with the officer's recommendation, did you include the second one? Second recommendation acknowledges that to ensure a well-balanced portfolio of priority projects for the
Thank you.
was that Was that
No, I appreciate you picking me up on that, Councillor Simpson. No, I did not. And through you, Madam Mayor, if I'm able to include that second recommendation, or read that second recommendation, I apologise to councillors that I did miss that. And thank you, Councillor Simpson.
Right, any,
Read that out for us, Mr. Burgess?
The second recommendation is there that council acknowledges that to ensure a well-balanced portfolio of priority projects, further projects will be identified and considered for endorsement from the council vision and council plan as the current and future strategic work evolves. My apologies, councillors.
thank you, and thank you, Councillor Simpson. Councillor Hood.
Madam Mayor, a question for Mr. Burgess, if I may. This list of projects, no matter what we call it, appears to be a subset of our capital works program and other budget items. I'm wondering that, given that it's the October meeting where we adopt the long-term financial plan and we adopt the council plan, what the rationale is behind bringing this particular report or subset forward and away from the same time as the other two key plans.
Through you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Hood. The reason for bringing this forward, Councillor, is that we have and we are continuing to get significant interest out of government, state government and federal government in relation to the opportunities for funding that come out of the Shire. So in order to give ourselves the best opportunity and to ensure that this council has line of sight of those projects, has been put forward to this meeting.
Any further questions of Mr. Burgess? So I've got the officer's recommendation that endorses the list as read out by Mr. Burgess. I'm in search of a motion. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Moved, Councillor Simpson. Thank you. Do I have a seconder? No one wants to second it. Last call. I don't have a motion, so the item lapses. We'll move on to item 14.5, which is the review. Oh, does it, Councillor Halliday?
I think, can we put
Let Jen talk first, and yeah, then I'll.
I thought we had the option to put another motion.
Well, the motion lapses. There was no motion, but no, we don't, because there was no motion moved. You didn't have to move the officer's recommendation. You could have moved another motion, but there was no motion moved on that item. So the item lapses. Correct, Ms. Ford?
Through you, Madam Mayor. So just to confirm, Councillor Simpson moved the officer recommendation. But
there was not a seconder.
Correct. So there's no motion on the table at all at this point.
So yeah.
And so, pardon me?
Where does that leave this item?
So there's nothing on the table. So there's an opportunity to move another motion if councillors are inclined.
I'd move.
Can I please confirm with Ms. Fort, the Mayor had moved to the next item without any motions. Does that lapse the item and we must move to 14.5 in the next item, given the Mayor had moved on?
I'll just need to consult the governance rules, if you don't mind me just checking that.
Which might be a good point for if anyone wishes to suspend standing orders so people can have a break. Councillor Halliday, would you like to?
Yes, but I thought we should resolve this issue first. But I'm happy to do that, and then we can resolve it. We're
suspending standing order. We can do that while Ms. Fort checks anyway.
Okay, perfect. I would like to move a motion to suspend standing orders, Madam Mayor.
Okay, do I have a seconder? Councillor Hood, all those in favour? Councillor Halliday, Councillor Hood, Councillor Hewitt, Councillor Simpson, Councillor Henderson, Councillor Dryling, Councillor Bray. Standing orders are suspended while we check the information and while councillors have a comfort break. Thank you.
Through you, Madam Mayor, what time will we be back at?
I'll just 9:35. You've got 6 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just remind everyone to mute their microphones and turn off cameras. Thank you.